Hey, hello gang. I'll wait for everybody else to get caught up here. So this is a little plein air painting that I started just yesterday and finishing up the lazy way in my studio here. Well, my studio for the week, which is a back porch on a in a cottage, I guess you call it, very nice cottage in Ocracoke. Anyway, so that's what I'm painting. I am painting an Ocracoke. You can look it up. Okra like the vegetable, coke like the drink. Ocracoke, North Carolina. And let me do the clapper and get official. It's Daily Art Adventure number 979. Broken color on yesterday's plein air painting. Woohoo! And I'll zoom in here so you can see my ear. Nice shot of my ear there. So broken color, we've talked about this a lot over the last couple of years, but maybe you weren't here, so let me, at the risk of offending your sensibilities by repeating myself so often, let me describe broken color. It means essentially putting down colors that are not realistic on top of colors that are more or less, like trees are green, right? So why am I putting purple down in the trees? Not because I'm trying to make the trees more realistic. Quite the contrary. I'm actually making everything in this stage of the painting, and this is the last phase. I'm actually making everything less realistic. And I started before the camera started rolling. Actually started with purple, violet, and purple can be put in a painting. It can almost be a substitute for dark, just a substitute for anything in your painting that's dark. You can do purple instead of dark, because the purple is the most recessive, using my language, the most recessive the most shy of all colors. So it gives the impression of being dark, even if it's not as dark as dark. Can I say that? It's not as dark as what's there, but the purple, because of its recessive, shy nature, it impresses, it feels to you like it's dark. All right, but I'm done with that. And again, this has been my practice for the last couple of years, I guess, since I introduced broken color as a separate and distinct phase or step of my painting process. It's only been the last couple of years, and it's one of the later developments in my painting evolution. And I have a very wooden, arbitrary, artificial, OCD way of doing it. I typically start with purple and then just go right around the color wheel. Either way, I can go from purple to blue or purple to red, and today I'm going from purple to red. So I just, without cleaning my brushes, I just added some permanent rose to the color I already had. So now I've got a very pale purple, reddish purple color on my brushes, and it's lighter than what I did a few minutes ago. So that means I'm looking for parts of the painting that are slightly lighter. Now, the key to accomplishing this broken color thing successfully is that you have to match values. Man, I can't hold my brush the way I would like to for this stroke, because I want to hold it like this, but everything's in the way underneath it. So you have to match the lightness, darkness. That's what values means, right? You have to make sure that you're putting a color down that is comparable to what's already there. Otherwise, it won't have the broken color effect. Oh, while I'm on the subject though, let me go ahead and make a clarification. I'm actually doing, so it was my broken color layer. Then little by little, I came to realize, oh, that it's not just, I'm not just doing broken color, I'm also pushing color with this layer, with this phase of the painting. So it's both broken color and just some, like if there's some part of the painting, like right there's a little tiny touch of red from the underpainting, I'm very likely, when I get around the color wheel to red, I'm very likely to, bam, give that a little push. Same thing here, there's a slight orange cast to this piece right here. I'm likely to mix up some more intense orange, bam, and pump that, push that a little bit. So it's both of those. Broken color and pushed color both in the same layer, because I often do it with the very same color that's on my brush. I'll use the same color to push in one place and do broken in the other. All right, that's enough of that. Let's go on to, I just picked up some Scarlet Lake. So for those of you who are not regulars to me yet, I have essentially 3 red colors on my palette. They are Permanent Rose, which is a very purplish, magenta-ish, cool red, and then Naphthol Crimson, which is just about a fire engine red, but maybe a little closer to a blood red, dark and slightly cool, not an orangey color at all. So that's my second red color. Then my third red color is definitely toward the orange, which is Scarlet Lake. So I do not use cadmiums or cobalts. You know, call me whatever. Call me whatever you want. But since those colors have been shown to cause cancer in rats in California, fortunately for me, I am not a rat in California, so the level of danger to my person is highly suspect, in my opinion. But anyway, what the heck? It's why take the chance. If I want to paint for another, if I want to live and breathe for another 50 years, can you imagine? I'd be 116 years old. Lord help us. No, I don't want to paint for another 50 years, but even another 25, maybe. Maybe. Then why take the chance? So anyway, so I don't use cobalts or cadmiums. So for my reds, Permanent Rose, Naphthol Crimson, and Scarlet Lake. Then any old kind of orange, even sometimes a cadmium orange hue. Generally speaking, I avoid the hues because they tend to be not the purest of colors. They tend to be slightly muddy, so I avoid these. All right, I'm done with that. I'm still, so up until now I've been using, I used the purple, and then I went through a long range of cool reds. Now let's start turning the corner toward warm reds. I'm not cleaning my brushes yet. I'm just dipping my brushes into Scarlet Lake. So I have a kind of a little bit of a muted red, but like I mentioned over here earlier, there's a little bit of red right there. Now, up here in the tree, I'm employing my common trick. There's already a fair amount of little bits of red showing in these trees from the way back in the acrylic stage, way back in the acrylic underpainting. And there's still red showing through from that era, from that way back. So when there's red deep inside the painting, and then right next to it or on top of it, I put bright red on top of the painting. Those two reds communicate with each other. And it actually causes a little tiny bit of confusion momentary flutter of confusion in the eye of the viewer because our eye can't tell, now is that red underneath or on top? Because it's both, some underneath, some on top. And that little flicker of confusion is actually experienced as a pleasant sensation. Again, contrary to what, a non-artist would think, nah, I don't like to be confused, because in most of life, granted, most of us don't want to be confused in life. But when it comes to the rules of visual painting, all those normal rules are out the window. And yes, we actually do enjoy being mildly confused. Right? I think I don't want to do too much. I don't want to overdo that red. It's such a hot color. And I think I will. No, I just have to wipe these off and I'm going to clean them because I'm going next to orange, going right around the color wheel. Right? Does that make sense? Started with violet, then red violet, then cool blue, cool red, then mid red, then warm red. Now I'm all the way to orange. Does that make sense? So just very arbitrary. I'm not recommending that you do it this way. This is a little bit of a weird Dan Nelsonism. Quite arbitrary. Let me catch my drift. Okay, so I have right now a very reddish orange. And now there's a bit of orange in the underpainting still peeking through, so I'm reinforcing it with some. Same thing here, pushing color right now. This is not broken color, this is pushing color that I'm doing right now. Broken color is when you're matching values, but with for all practical purposes, a non-realistic color. Like I'm doing right there. Adding that orange in that shadow. The shadow as it is kind of a brown, muddy brown color. I don't know what color to call it. It defies description. But anyway, so adding that warm bit of orange to it and it's about the same value. So that's broken color, right? I've talked about whoa. I forgot to put the top down on my easel. You'll hear wind, I'm afraid, in my microphone. Can't be helped. I've got a pop cover on it, but still, I'm at the beach, so just like your beach, our beach has a lot of wind. Oh, here's a bit of pushed color. Push color. That's a tail light on the. I didn't even have a suggestion of it there until right that second. I've talked about this quite a bit, that the broken color literally creates a shimmer visually to our eyes. And I'm not going to get into it now, but it has to do with two different parts of our brain, one that sees, and two different parts of our eyes too. One sees value, the other sees color. And again, our brain gets a little confused when you do this broken color thing, if you do it well, if you do it right, which I'm trying to do. All right, that's enough of that. Let's continue marching right around the wheel. So that was a very reddish orange. Let's go around now to a more yellowish or maybe mid-range orange, typical orange. Yep, pumpkin orange. It's Halloween. It's October. So pumpkin orange. It's harvest time. Maybe I should say that. Let's not get into the Halloween conversation. Hang on just a second. I'll pull up my reference photo here for a minute because I was wondering if there was any orange branches, and I really don't see any, but it doesn't stop me from throwing a little in. That is to suggest sun hitting some of these dark branches. So this is not, this what I'm doing right now is not broken color. Because I'm putting the orange down on dark areas, so it's, this is just pushing color once again. All right, enough of that maybe. This is, the whole broken color thing is kind of a risky to me. It always feels dangerous to me. And I don't really know what I'm doing. I mean, it's so counterintuitive. It's so anti-realism, you know. It always feels a little scary to me. And while I'm doing it, I almost always feel like, oh man, I think I'm overdoing it. I really do. Even like I do right now, I think, oh man, I'm overdoing it. But then usually after I finish and back up and look at it with fresh eyes, I go, oh no, it's okay. I didn't overdo it. Okay, I'm done with that. Let's continue. So now I want to mix up a definite, not an orange anymore. I'll call it a warm yellow. So I clean my brushes, so just wipe them off a little bit. More yellow, more yellow. All right. Just as I mentioned a while ago, what I'm doing now is pushing color again. There's already this warm yellow color here, and I'm just exaggerating it a little bit. Looking and thinking, looking for a place. There, that was a nice mark. All right, stop there. Let's go now. Now I'm going to do a funny thing, taking a slight detour from, hello gang, some of the Graciela Schurig, thank you. Unclassified channel. Hello Keith. Yes, this is oil. My underpainting is acrylics. These are oils. Okay, and Unclassified channel asks why. You must be new in these parts. I talked about it quite a bit. Why two hands? Yes, I am using the same color. I'm mixing color with both brushes on my palette, and I'm using two hands because it makes you a better painter. That's pretty bold. Makes me a better painter, and would make you a better painter too. I used to be much more kind and gentle about it. So, okay, a little bit of history. I didn't start painting with two hands until about 12 or 13 years ago. So that is to say, in my early 50s. Okay, so I was a pretty old artist before I ever started thinking of doing two hands. I'm going to skip over why I started today and just say that as soon as I started, my left hand was very, very uncoordinated, completely, I mean, spastic is really the word. about as non-ambidextrous as a person could be. But in spite of that, okay, I'm done with that bright yellow. Right, let me go back. I said I was taking a break from broken color. Yes, in order to do intense yellow. Because I discovered that left to my own devices, I won't use any cool, bright, intense yellow. And I consider that my reluctance, I consider it to be a weakness. So once I discovered I was doing that, I said, well, then I intentionally am going to, on purpose, be sure to use some bright, cool yellow in each of my paintings. Kind of funny, simply because I don't tend to use that color, and I consider an artist, so to speak, not liking some color is ridiculous. That's immature. All right, back to okay. Now I'm doing a bright chartreuse green on my, and that was pushed color, not broken color, as is that. Goodness, I don't know if there's any place on this painting for a bright chartreuse green. Maybe right there. Yeah, that's broken color. So even though I was hopelessly uncoordinated with my left hand, it's more broken color over here, my paintings became better. My paintings were better immediately upon using two hands. And I think the only explanation I can come up with is that I began using both sides of my brain in some which I don't understand. I'm not a brain scientist, but you know, it sounds likely, and that's how it feels. I tell you, that's how it feels. So I can't stand painting with only one hand anymore. The essence of good painting is making interesting marks. And if you use two hands instead of one, you have access to a wider range of marks, because your left hand makes, or your non-dominant hand makes different marks than your dominant hand. Does that make sense? So thanks for asking. I've talked about it quite a bit, and we'll talk about it again, no doubt, but thanks for bringing it up. All right, enough of that green. My whole painting has become quite a bit more colorful just in the last couple minutes. I'm going to spread out some of my recent marks here. Just smear them, plain old-fashioned smear them. I'm not erasing, I'm painting with a rag. All right. So the last thing I did was a bright chartreuse green. Now let's move around the color wheel to a cool turquoise-ish or forest green, viridian-ish green, even though I don't have viridian on my palette. The cool blue-green, definitely blue-green. Let's see if I'm almost running out of places to put these crazy colors. That was broken color, real subtle stroke right there. I discovered in this broken color adventure, I discovered something very interesting. I mentioned earlier that purple or violet is the most recessive or shy color. It runs away from the viewer, so to speak. I don't know. That's obviously what I'm using here is analogous or picturesque language. I can't explain that in physics, but that's the sensation that we have with the color purple. Conversely, the most aggressive color, you would think it would be red, bright red. In some ways it is. But no, there's actually a color that's more aggressive or comes forward even more than bright red, and that is chartreuse green, yellow green. You could think about the crosswalk, the pedestrian crosswalk signs in your town probably are the way they are in my town, or school crossing sign, or a lot of high-tech fire trucks are painted yellow-green. That's the last color to disappear in a dark environment. So green is very aggressive. Makes it a very difficult color for many portrait painters, early journey painters. Their greens are way too intense. Speaking of which, I have a daub of very intense green. I'm just going to blend the top part of that daub. There we go. So I discovered that, so even a bluish green like I was using a moment ago, even though it's quite a bit different from a bright yellow green, it still has some of that aggressive tendency. So I've discovered I get again another fun little vibration, mental vibration, if I put this cool green in dark areas, like for instance, like in the tire well, in the wheel well above this, which is a very dark part of the picture, right? But now I put a chartreuse green, and so we get a very interesting, at least I think it's a vibration happening. Our mind knows that that's supposed to be dark. By the way, I'm going to introduce a little pencil mark right here. I don't like the way two of those colors are running into each other. We know that's a dark, but here it is, it's actually got a dark green in it, and it creates, again, that little momentary flicker of confusion, I like to call it, which in most of life, we don't like being confused. But in visual art, we do like being confused. You didn't know you were confused. I'm just analyzing the sensation for you. Somebody saying some interesting things over here. Hello, Daniel Jensen. Thank you. Unclassified, no kidding. First live stream, excellent. Thank you for joining us today. I appreciate that. All right, so I'm done with the greens. Let's continue. So next I go to a warm blue, which is a phthalo blue. Cool blue, it's warm because it has green in it, right? It's cool blue is ultramarine because it has purple in it. And some of you are confused, and especially if you're new here. Oh boy, I could go on I could give this lecture for 45 minutes, but I won't. Imagine a color wheel. I'm going to be cut right to the chase. The warmest color is yellow orange. So adjust your color wheel so that yellow orange is due north. Okay, straight at the top. Yellow or not orange, not yellow, yellow orange. In my opinion, is the warmest color. Therefore, if you go this way, away from that, you're getting cooler. And if you go this way, you're getting cooler. Both directions, because that's the warmest. So either direction. So follow that out, and you'll find out that phthalo blue is a little closer. So okay, so if yellow orange is the warmest, what's the coolest? The answer is purple blue, which is ultramarine. That's all I'm going to say about that right now. So now I have a phthalo blue on my brushes, and I'm doing both broken color and pushed color, both. I'm just about out of places to put down broken color, I tell you. Not all broken color needs to be like a lot of mine tend to be little sharp points, but they don't all need to be that way. In fact, now I'm pushing color right now. This is not breaking. This is just made the shadow of on that boat hull a little bluer. And I'm going to do the same thing over here on the shadow of the truck. A little bluer, little bluer, little bluer. Oh, that was nice. Again, that's the voice of surprise. Like, oh, that turned out good. How about that? Okay, there's some nice broken color right there. That brown shadow part of a building, and I just put blue in there. Same thing here. How about up here on this roof? Yeah. That's enough of that. Let's drop our brushes and pick them up. Let's continue. So theoretically, my next color will be ultramarine blue, which is a purplish or cool blue. And since I started with violet, purple, this theoretically will be my last color. And I think, in fact, in reality, it'll be my last broken color as well. Now, again, for those of you perhaps joining me for the first time, I think I'm done with this painting. Although I'll get up tomorrow morning and look at it with fresh eyes. One of my, I enjoy doing glazes on paintings all the time. You can't have too many glazes on a painting, in my opinion. You can't have too many layers of glazing. And I very much like the effect after I've done broken color, as I've done here. I am particularly fond of doing glazes, or a glaze, after the broken color, because it actually creates a little cohesion, unifies the palette a little bit. I just picked up a much larger brush, by the way, and realized, I guess this is broken color. Suddenly I say, no, I want that corner, that sky up there to be bluer, not quite as brown as it is at the moment. Same thing over here. Now, some of you just joining me for the first time, you might be wondering, what are these streaks going through my sky in particular? They are nothing. They're just purely abstract marks. They were the very first, some of the very first marks that I put on the canvas in acrylics. My paintings start in acrylic and finish in oil. And I do essentially a complete abstract painting. It has a lot of white in it, but or bare gesso, bare canvas. But I do a complete abstract painting underneath my representational paintings. And that's some of the original abstraction showing through. And it has nothing to do with realism. I'm not trying to make it look more realism. Like, are those jet trails, vapor trails? What is that? Nope, nothing like that. There's also a streak of yellow here that you can barely see, and here. There's a streak of red right there that you can barely see. I remember it being there, so I can still see it, but it still impacts the viewer, all the viewers. They just don't realize it. They wouldn't, in a sense, nobody would say, oh, look, there's red back there. No. They would not say that. But in fact, they are sensing it. Their eye is experiencing it, even though they wouldn't consciously pull it up to a conscious level and say, by golly, I think I see some red back there. Unless you get used to my painting, then in fact you can begin to do that and say, you know what, I see some same. Here's these marks, this mark down here. Can you see that? Yeah, barely. Hang on, let me move you down a little bit. Yeah, this is pure, those two marks right there, that V shape, has nothing to do with realism. That's part of the original abstract. It's still showing through. It shows through in many places, in many ways. You just are, again, the casual viewer would be completely unaware of that. All right, so I've gone all the way around the color wheel. I will look at this painting with fresh eyes tomorrow. Of course, I have the liberty. When is the painting finished? The answer is when it sells. Correct. Thank you very much. So won't be sold by tomorrow probably. So I have the liberty of painting more on it tomorrow. But I'll go ahead and sign it today because I think I'm finished. And I'm 99.999% finished anyway. Right now I'm doing come back and doing some late sky holes up here. This is called touching up. This is neither broken color nor it's pushing color, indeed. But I'm just going back and modifying the painting slightly. Indeed, it does bother me if I paint too many minutes with my right hand. My brain starts going, too much right hand. Yeah. All right. Some of you, if you're not a regular, let me pick you up because I don't think you've seen my face in this whole broadcast yet. Who is that guy? Who is that strange man talking? Well, that would be me. Hello, my name is Dan Nelson. I've been an artist my whole life, pretty much. Let me see, any other chats I should reference? Thanks, David. I'll consider that. All right. Enjoy your company. I don't know if I'll probably be broadcasting again today, but maybe. But thanks for your company. Bye-bye.